This is my weekly episode where I take a closer look at 4 stocks on my watch list for potential buys this week. Like many of you, I put money to work on my portfolio on a weekly basis, so every single week I'm either looking for new investments or old investments to increase my overall portfolio. This episode is going to be a bit different. I have 2 ETFs on my watch list, and I also have 1 growth stock and 1 stock that I believe many people have kind of given up on, but I do believe there is huge potential at the moment. So the first ETF is going to be Roundhill's Metaverse ETF, ticker METV. We can see from its 52-week high, the stock is down roughly 46.45%. The second ETF is going to be VanEck Semiconductor ETF, down roughly 27.76. When we take a closer look at growth stock, is going to be Twilio, ticker TWLO, down roughly 80%, and we also have PayPal down roughly 68% as I am recording this episode. So again, various ETFs, and I just want to say the Metaverse ETF might kind of freak out a few people, but when we take a closer look at those top 10 holdings, you're going to see this is one that's really good in the tech industry right now, and I really do enjoy its top 10 holdings. The Semiconductor ETF, obviously I'm huge in the semiconductor space, and I do believe I can't own every single semiconductor stock, so I want to get my exposure increased through just a regular market sector ETF. We're going to take a closer look at Twilio. This one's growing at crazy levels still and has taken quite a beating. And when we take a closer look at PayPal, I do believe many have given up on PayPal, but I do believe there's a lot of growth opportunity for this stock. So let's get started.
I do want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and make sure to check out fool.com/Jose to get the top 10 stocks to buy right now.
Let's start off with the Metaverse ETF. This is ticker METV. If we take a closer look, this roughly has 43 holdings and an expense ratio of 0.59%. We can see their overall market is broken down into numerous themes. The gaming platform is roughly 23%, computing components roughly 17%, cloud solutions roughly 16%, social networks 12.4%, and other is roughly 30%. If we take a closer look at its top 10 holdings, its number 1 position is Roblox, roughly 11% of the total portfolio. If you are big into the metaverse, that one makes really a lot of sense, especially in the gaming side. But it's not just gaming companies that they have, right? You can see some of their top 10 holdings are Apple with roughly 8%, Nvidia with roughly 7.7%, Unity with roughly 7.25%, Microsoft with roughly 6.4%, even Amazon with roughly 4% of the total ETF. So we can see there are definitely some important companies in here, and it's not just some random names, some random growth stocks. I really do enjoy the top 10 holdings. In all honesty, the only issue I have right now is that Roblox is such a huge holding at the moment, but I do believe they purchased a nice amount during the dip, which has kind of overall increased that weighting position. If you are enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the thumbs up. It does help me grow my overall audience, and I appreciate it so much. If you want to support a little bit more, make sure to subscribe using my link, fool.com/Jose. If you take a closer look at their composition via market capitalization, you can see roughly 95% of the companies in this ETF are over large cap, which is over $10 billion market cap. And the reason I'm choosing ETFs right now is a few reasons. First, there are some of my big players already have big positions, so I don't want to buy them individually. For example, Nvidia, it is my number 1 holding, and it's roughly over 10% of my total portfolio. So I don't just want to purchase Nvidia, even though I want to increase my position a little bit each time. So the best way is to kind of find an ETF that also has numerous positions, so it kind of dilutes my increasement of this stock. So while I am increasing my, for example, position in Nvidia, in Unity, at the same time I'm also increasing my position in Microsoft, in Amazon, in Autodesk, in Apple, and so many more. So I prefer this method when I don't want to increase a single position at a time. The same can be said for the Semiconductor ETF. This is ticker SMH. This is the only semiconductor ETF I follow. This right now only has 25 holdings, and it does have an expense ratio of 0.35. It's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive compared to most other ETFs out there that are not an index fund ETF. Again, the main reason is I'm super bullish in the semiconductor market right now, but I only want to hold limited amount of individual semiconductor stocks. Here with SMH, I'm able to have 25 holdings. We can see I can increase my overall position in TSM, in Texas Instrument, in Broadcom, ASML, AMD, Analog Devices, and so much more. But I do believe the whole semiconductor as a market is still pretty undervalued in my opinion for where it can go, and instead of buying all these stocks individually, I'd rather just purchase an ETF and go with them. And this is why I enjoy the semiconductor ETF. While it is very kind of volatile, we can see in the past 10 years SMH has actually outperformed the Qs and has also outperformed the S&P 500. If we take a closer look in the past 3 years, it also is the same thing. Unfortunately, right now in the current year, the VanEck is doing a little bit worse than the S&P 500. It's still outperforming the QQs, and I do believe in the long term of things it's going to continue this trend where it continues to outperform the market. So to me, the semiconductor industry is a no-brainer. The next two are actually going to be individual companies, and that is going to be Twilio and PayPal. But before we take a closer look at individual bullish thesis, I just want to take a closer look at their financials at the moment. Let's start off with Twilio. Twilio right now, unfortunately, is not positive in cash flow from operations. Some investors might not like that, but they do have plenty of cash, roughly $4.4 billion. And roughly $1 billion in debt. So in my mind, they have plenty of cash for the long term of things as long as they continue to grow. If we take a closer look at PayPal, PayPal is a different story. While they do have about $10.6 billion in debt and $9.2 billion in cash and short-term investments, they are super positive in cash flow from operations with roughly $6 billion there. So in theory, this is a company that financially is stable, even though they are increasing their debt, not something I would personally worry about. I do want to say another red flag for Twilio is right now in the past year, they have increased their average diluted shares by roughly 2.9%. PayPal, on the other hand, has actually decreased it by about 2.4%. I do want to mention if you take a longer look at Twilio and their average diluted shares, it has increased dramatically in the past 3 years, but they have made a few acquisitions with stocks and cash at the same time, which is obviously increasing that dilution of shares at the moment. I do want to say first, Twilio's kind of products are insane, and I do believe the market they're in is super important. They help bring communication solutions to app developers and all forms of developers right now. If we take a closer look at their most recent earnings, which were less than a month ago on August 4th of 2022, we can see the overall growth this company is seeing. First, we can see overall revenue was up 41%, obviously due to some acquisitions. Organic revenue was up 33%. And we can see this overall organic revenue trend continues to be pretty high. I personally believe 33 is super impressive. If we take a closer look at their dollar-based net expansion, it has kind of fallen a bit, but it is 123%. The company also did give guidance for the upcoming quarter, and in organic revenue growth, they expect somewhere between 29 to 30%. Still very impressive in my opinion in that form of organic growth year over year. Like we saw earlier, Twilio right now is down roughly 80% from its all-time highs. This is a company I want to increase my overall position, and I do believe right now is a great time for me to do it. The next stock is going to be PayPal, and for those that are not familiar with PayPal, this is a company that depends a lot on transactions, and right now with overall macroeconomic headwinds, that is very difficult. Not many people are either purchasing online or they're making less purchases in forms of total amount volume. But that regardless, active accounts is 429 million. That was a 6% increase year over year. Customer engagement has increased to roughly 48.7 payment transactions per active accounts, up 12%. So we can see active engagement is still growing for this platform. We can see total payment volume was $340 billion, which was up 9%. Again, you can kind of see the overall growth PayPal has done in just the numerous years. Active accounts has grown dramatically, obviously some due to acquisitions. The amount of transactions growing is also pretty impressive. In 2021, roughly 9.3 billion. And here we can see the overall evolutions of the solutions this company provides. We can see here between 2019 and 2022, the amount of solutions that it has entered have increased dramatically. Like I mentioned, this is a company that focuses on transactions. So one thing they're trying to do is increase the engagement of their overall customers. But they also mentioned that, hey, we don't only have the growth opportunity of increasing engagement, but we also have opportunity to grow in core markets. For example, in the United States, they only have 35% penetration of the total market. And with that applications like Venmo, this core penetration can increase, and also the overall transactions per users can continue to increase as well. I do want to say the total payment volume increase growth is pretty impressive. They have 340 billion this most recent quarter. The last time they hit that was in Q4, so during the holiday season. I do believe this is one of my favorite charts for PayPal, is their overall customer engagement, how it continues to grow over time. So these are the 4 stocks on my watch list this week. Let me know in the comments below, what are you planning on buying soon? Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.